Like everything else in nature, it takes one male and one female to be fruitful and multiply. It's a natural order of things.
And do these make honey too?
No, all they do is pollinate. So underneath every one of these tents, see here, there's honeybees in the corner. They can easily fly to the other corner of the field, but the leaf cutter bees don't fly that far. And that's why they put these little tents everywhere. And underneath each one, they got a group of leaf cutter bees that do the pollinating. And then the different strips, right? The skinny ones, once they're done pollinating, they'll cut the skinny ones and dump it on the ground. And then the big ones, the bigger strips, they'll combine for seed and put it in a bag. Right? And they can do seed here really well because they can control the climate. So it's excellent for growing seed. Right? They can easily control how much water and everything else it gets. And in a greenhouse, it's because you can control the climate, right? You're the boss of them. And same reason why they grow a lot of that kind of stuff around here, because they can control it, how much water it gets. There's almost always sunshine here. I'm surprised how many clouds there are right now, but it's almost always sunny. So the only other thing you need is water, and it's super easy to control that here because you got irrigation, which makes it great for growing vegetables and seed, whatever. Loads and loads of potatoes around here. I think this is sugar beets right here beside us. There's an enormous amount of sugar beets grown here. There's a pivot laying down. Must be a new one they're going to install or something. River. So in order for us to get the picture view, there was 2 river crossings. This one or the other one. We most of the time drove on the other one, but this one's good too. So I would recommend you don't look at your school books and enjoy the ride. Okay, so in our time in southern Alberta, I looked after 2 different feedlots, one for 2 years and one for 1 year. So this is the one I looked after for 1 year. So this feedlot, well, both feedlots came with a house for us to live in. This particular one, we lived here in the trees. If the house is still there, yeah, it looks like it is. Yeah, so this was our home right there in the bush. Garden shed's gone. I had built a garden shed. Oh, I think we sold the garden shed.
All the trees. There's all the trees in the front are all gone. You couldn't
Yeah.
even see the house.
Well, that was our home, and then the boss's home was right next to it. right there in the trees.
But you couldn't even see each other.
Yeah, there was a lot more growth. Looks like they pruned it up a little bit, cleaned it up. And then this was the entrance into the feedlot. Coming up here, it was pretty narrow. You can see how the branches and stuff there. You had to drive through every truck. So they ended up, the new owners ended up building another one. They cleared quite a few trees out of here as well. And they put a new entrance over in this side to drive in. And they've made quite a few changes. Look, so there's new feed bins there. There's a scale. So the old scale here was a nightmare. It's a real death trap. Here it looked like they put a nice new scale in there. That's beautiful. And yeah, I don't know. I don't have permission to drive through here, so we should probably seek that permission first. Big feedlot. You can see the bunks where they ate, or where they eat. Feed truck pours feed in, cattle come up and eat. More on the other side. I know they've made this feedlot bigger, and they did a lot of rentals. It was getting a little bit wore out. It needed work. New grain bins up here. That wasn't here. I think actually this whole run is new. My feedlot, when I worked here, this was the end, and then from here on was a field. They had permits to put this in, but it wasn't in. So that's all brand new on this side. Very nice. Well, like I said, we'll have to find some permission to go in if we're gonna go in. All right, permission granted. So there's been a few changes. Look at the size of that bucket. That's a reload manure. That's actually a smaller one. I have a picture of the kids beside one that's way bigger than that. Loading cattle. So when the cattle showed up, I would receive them here. Usually 600 to 800 pounds. They'd come into these pens here. And then from there, we'd move them on to other pens. Processing shack was over there. I don't know if I'm going to fit through everywhere here or not. This was the old weigh scale, and it was a complete death trap because you had to bring them around this corner and up onto here, and a lot of times they would turn around and come back before you were ready with the gate, so you could easily get run over. No, it was always kind of wet down there too. Looks like they've upgraded. So he just told me, I was just talking to the boss's son, Denver, they've upgraded to 11,000 head of cattle here now. When I ran it, it was 8,000. So they've added a considerable amount. Here they're processing cows in the barn. I don't know who's in there right now. Feels a bit soft under my tires.
Yeah, so don't stop.
Cows with lots to eat. So they live in here all day, all night, till they're ready to go. We brought them from 600 to 800 pounds up to 1,400-ish pounds, sometimes 1,500, and then shipped them. This first area was concrete, and then the rest was dirt. I don't know what they have here now. But this is where the majority of your beef comes from. We personally prefer green grass, but this by far is where the majority of the beef you find in the store is grown in a feedlot. Very similar to this. There's your bunks full of feed. The majority of that's grain. Our finished ration at that time was 98% grain. I don't know what they're cooking here now, but lots and lots of grain. So you're driving here, both sides is cattle. So this is what I was talking about with an even pen. These are all the same color. I really like that. These are all the same color. Really like that. It was a custom feedlot, so if I wanted to, hey? Oh yeah, the water bowl. If I wanted to buy cattle and stick them in here, I could. I could buy a couple hundred head of cattle and put them in the feedlot, and they would custom feed them for me. That's what this feedlot was. It's all custom feeding. And it was, so we charge for every bale of straw, every bottle of medicine, every stitch of feed, everything that goes in, we get billed to the customer, and then hopefully there's enough money for everybody. Behind all the pens, there's an alley. So this is a chase alley. So if you have a sick animal, you would have to take one animal out of this pen. So let's just say this guy here is sick. I have to separate him from all of his friends and get him to the door and out without all the friends getting out. And you might think that's impossible, but it's not. You get really good at it at just picking one out of a group. And there's probably 300-400 head of cattle in that pen. And you take one sick one, you work them through the door, you open the door, you chase them out into this back alley. When you are done checking all of them, you bring all these sick ones up to the processing barns where you can put them into, you know, a place to hold them, a squeeze, a head gate, and treat them.
These are nice group of cows, eh?
Yeah, very even,
Where's
very
the
nice.
oven that gets in there to this
The back door? Back there.
They're back over there.
You see it at the back of the back corner there is a white
Beautiful
gate.
looking.
Right there is the gate.
Yeah, beautiful looking cows.
Now, is it humane? I don't know. I'm not going to argue that. I personally, again, I prefer them on green grass, but I really
These
thoroughly
guys look
enjoyed this
happy.
job. They're happy, they're fed, they're watered, they have everything they need. They're zero, like there's no hitting and no shocking these animals. It was a no, what do you want to call that? Like everything we can do to make the animal happy and comfortable. That was the goal. We weren't
Less
even allowed to hit them with a stick. Low stress, that's what it is. The least amount of stress possible. Low stress management. And that's actually a deal that they had as well with the packing plant. Now again, every feedlot's different, but these guys did their best to make sure that these animals were properly looked after.
Tell them about the competition.
What competition?
You guys used to have feedlot competition.
Oh yeah, we had feedlot competitions. Competition, and the guys from different feedlots would, kind of like a rodeo used to be, I guess. You'd compete against each other. We'd have different feedlots against each other. And then the judges would basically slap a number on the back of a cow, and then you'd have to get these animals out of the pen in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of stress. We get judged on it. Also on handling the animals in the chute, needling them, vaccinating them. So some feedlot in the area would basically donate a pen of cattle to get processed, and we would get graded on how well we did. So there was on horseback, but also on foot you could go. A lot of guys pen check on horseback. And then, yeah, you get graded for these different things. There's an event, and then, you know, there's a good steak dinner. And they award belt buckles to whoever wins, or coats, or whatever the prize is. So it was always good fun, good natured, you know, people in the area playing against each other. You can see these guys are super clean too. That's another thing that this feedlot owner and a group of friends that they work together with are very big on, making sure they're clean. You do go to some feedlots where they're just covered in manure, but then when they bring that to the slaughter plant, to the packing plant, you get them dripping with manure, or they're big clumps of manure on the hides. It just makes a mess. So they use more bedding in this particular feedlot and keep things in nicer shape than some. And then they also get paid a premium then because they do such a good job. Go straight. So yeah, I can't say enough about that. This I'm not going to mention any names on who these people are, I guess, but these people did a very, very good job. They're very good managing, and yeah, the cows are happy, and you can see that. Look at them; they're excellent shape. So I cannot at all say there's animal abuse going on.
Nope.
I'm sure there's feedlots that happens, but definitely not in this one. And that's counterproductive, because any farmer that does that, you're getting less gains. If you're stressing these animals out, they're not going to eat as much, they're not going to gain as well. If you're beating the snot out of them with a stick or poking them or doing whatever to make them uncomfortable, they're not going to do as well. And that doesn't make anybody any money. It's just no good.
Sheer fact that they're all just standing there watching us drive.
Content, they're happy,
They're
they're
not
full.
running to the other side of the pen.
Here's an empty pen. These probably just got shipped out. So this here as well, when they get too hot, I don't know if you can see the sprayer on the back of that right there. There's a nozzle, and this will roll right out. They can hook it up to irrigation. So when the cattle get too warm, they can actually run these sprinklers. They'll spray them over their backs. It'll basically making it rain in each pen, and it'll help cool the cattle off. Again, if they didn't care about the cows and if it was an abusive situation, they wouldn't do that. But everything is maximizing animal comfort. These are wind fences, these big fences. So they give them somewhere to shelter, especially in the winter when the wind's blowing and it's cold. So this was the last of the feedlot when I worked here. This pen, very nice. When I get to the front, I'm going to weigh this. I got to weigh the motorhome, so I'll ask permission to use the scale. We'll do that. So this is more of a mixed pen. Some happy cows. You having fun? Yeah. You on the swing? So many years ago we took the kids here. It's been like almost 10 years since we lived here. But a few things changed. I can't remember if this playground equipment's the same or not, but the park's in the same spot. So nice area. Hey Finny. Visiting with it was an older lady from our church, Oma Kolk, we always called her. And the kids have memories of playing at her house as well, so it's very nice to see her again. A few people that we've ran into now that we used to know. Pardon? Yeah. Are you flying? Yeah, you like an airplane. That's fun. Big city of Picture Butte, secondary street, grocery store and such. Nice old grain terminal there. Picture Butte, Alberta. Great little visit. Caught up with two older ladies from our old church that we knew quite well, and a gentleman actually that got me my job. So originally when I moved to Alberta here, I came across his website, Ag Employment Alberta, I think it was called. Anyways, run by a man named Tony Coke. So if anybody's ever looking for a feedlot job or a farm job, agricultural job here in Alberta, southern Alberta mostly, but I think he goes all the way up north as well, check out that website. And that's how I got both of my jobs actually that were out here out west. And so we just saw him. That was nice. Now we're just walking here. There's a Dutch store with lots of Dutch goodies, candies and stuff, bakery. We used to get all our bread here freshly made. Apparently they also make gluten-free bread, we were just told, so we'll go check that out as well. Loads of fresh bread they make every day, I believe, at least they used to. Lots of bread, cakes. When you live around here, it's hard not to gain weight. Everything is delicious. Delicious and yummy. And then my favorite part. Oh, this is good too. The best part is up here. This is all Dutch imports. Huge Dutch community here. Candies, koek, cake I guess you call it, stroopwafels. It's like a syrup waffle. All the different candies. More candies. Dutch people love their candies. Some games and art. Chocolate sprinkles. We used to put this all on our breads growing up. There's apple stroop. Both of those for your bread. Brinta used to grow up with that. It's kind of like a porridge idea, I guess. Knickknacks. More candy. More cookies. Tea towels. Pots, pans, you name it. Absolutely delicious. Yum, yum, yum. What are you pointing at, buddy? That shoe? Nice. Alright, we got a bag full of goodies. And head back to the motorhome. If you'd like to check out the other feedlot yet, just drive by it probably. It's on a dirt road, so we don't really like drive because the air conditioning doesn't work that great. We try to avoid dirt roads because they end up getting real dusty inside the cab. But yeah, it's kind of neat to be back here again in this town. It is, it is. And there's the old motorhome. Alright, great visit in town there. We're finally heading out. Had a bunch of phone calling to do and stuff like that, but we're finally heading out of town here. And we're going to drive past the first feedlot that I worked at. I worked there for 2 years. We probably won't, we'll see what the road looks like, but I don't think we're going to drive down to where we used to live. It's another 5 miles down this road, but we'll start at the feedlot. So this was our side of town here. Some stuff has changed, a lot's still the same. My oldest brother actually was out here not too long ago. So he's talked to these people and I can't remember, I think he sent some pictures back to me. But all the way down? See our old place? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so this land here was part of the feedlot. So a quarter section. A section is 640 acres. A quarter section is 160 acres. And the boss that I worked for here owned 13 quarters of land. So 13 times 160. And then we rented some as well. So just this side of the road, that was his house there. I don't know where he is now, but he doesn't live here anymore. He sold everything off. A few bad years, and that was the end of her. So here, you can see the water. That's a big lake, I guess you want to call it. Lagoon, yeah. We filled that full of water, and you had to make sure it was full. That was your winter supply of water for all the cattle to drink out of there. So before they closed the canal, so in between here is a canal with water in it. You can see the blue fences up here for it. I'll try to get closer to it in a minute. But that flows water all the time, and we would fill it up in here before they shut it off, and then you'd have to last us all the way through till spring if all goes well. Like I said, this is the boss's house across the road from it. Ours was farther down the road. We'll go look at that later. There was a house right here on the property, kind of where these bales are. You see some trees in front of those bales. My nephew, we had him hired to work on the feedlot. He lived in there for a while. Yeah, just housing for employees. Again, I have not asked permission from anyone here, so I don't know what I can all show you. Here's that canal that I was talking about. So these run all over the place. They have replaced a lot of them with pipelines now that are in the ground instead. This was the equipment fixing shop, storage. There's a weigh scale was in here. I'm assuming still is. The office was beside that. The treating shack was in here, and this was kind of a sick pen. We had sick cattle. And then, of course, loading, receiving, and shipping coming out of there. Okay. So, anyway, basically it's the same as that other feedlot, so we're not going to bother. But it's essentially the same thing with all the little pens of cattle. Yeah, so that house has been taken out. Feedlot's still here. It looks like they're doing some work in here right now. There's a big pile of dirt. There's a high hole back there, and there's another high hole right here. So the manure, when we clean the manure out, I wish I could find a... We might before we leave yet, but the manure spreading trucks are like on the back of a dump truck, a tandem axle dump truck. They're huge. And then the buckets that they use to load the manure are massive. I don't see any of them here right now. The irrigation. So that's the pivot. So it turns from the center. You can't see the middle, but it's way out there. And it's spraying water. And obviously the outside ones turns faster. If you look carefully, I'll try to focus on this tire, you'll see it's moving. Not very quick, but that tire is slowly rolling. And it's dumping water down. Hopefully it's been there long enough you can tell that it moved. Very slowly, driving around in circles. That's what I was saying. So I absolutely love that job because there was a little bit of everything. The second feedlot was much better run, better management, like better just all around. But all I got to do there was look after cattle. Whereas this, sorry, I'm eating a candy. But this first feedlot, irrigation. So there's the canals, they got to step down once in a while. So there's a whole bunch of steps in here all the way along. Anyway, the first feedlot I got to do a little bit of everything. So I did combining there, did seeding. I think the one spring I seeded 2,100 acres of land. Great big seed drill, 40 foot wide. Not that big. It's not big in today's standards, but it was for for me coming from a small farm in southern Ontario. And then yeah, got fixed fences, treat cattle, like everything that needed to be done, I could do it. Whereas the second feedlot, all I did was look after cattle all the time. That got pretty boring I like cattle, but I like variety as well. Our old place. I don't know who's in there now. It was all sold, but so we moved from Ontario. By the time we got here, we were just flat broke. We got here on a visa that we managed to get up to, I think, $2,500. That's how we had enough gas money to make the last little bit. Oh, it's changed. Somebody's done a lot of work to it. I don't know if they like us filming it. Yeah, it's definitely changed. It looks a lot nicer. But it was a beautiful home for us, having no home coming to this property. And we had like 6 or 7 acres here that we could use. We could use the whole thing. A big Quonset hut, this pasture. We raised a few cows. And then there's the Quonset. Make sure I don't run anybody over. That Quonset hut there, we were free access to use all of that. Yeah, I kind of like going back through memory lane. It's an amazing time. When we moved out here, we didn't know a soul. Literally just took a job and an opportunity and went for it. I don't know how many times since then people are like, well, you know, you gotta build roots and blah, blah, blah. It's been the greatest for us, especially early on in our marriage. It was just awesome. We got away from everybody and we could just focus on ourselves and on our relationship and build that. It was great for us to build a togetherness like that. And also to get ahead financially, see something of the world, explore. And we've continued to do it. We have no issues moving and trying something new. We're doing it again.
Caught behind Venetian blinds, out of reach for the city lights. This ain't where I belong. Hey, look at me, man, what I've become. I've been running east, looking for a sunset, digging deep since '99. What I thought was gone was sitting in my pocket in plain sight all along. I think it's time for me to go, burn all bridges. All I know, I got lost along the way, fell between the foam, pulling stitches. Time to let go, so come what may. Don't look before you leave. What you give, you get to keep. So long, farewell, bye-bye. Let's have a toast for those lost old lives.